Hello, everybody. Welcome to After the Game with Todd Leary, live from Yogi's, presented by Andy Moore Honda, French Lick Resort and Casino. We're coming to you from Yogi's here in Bloomington. Of course, Todd Leary sitting in after Indiana takes on Purdue at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall tonight in another game that was probably looked upon as a must-win kind of a game, Todd. But and again, Indiana comes out on the short end. But more importantly, against Purdue, they go to 0-8 now against them, and Archie is 0-6 against Matt Painter.
Yeah, I'd love to come up with some terrific positives out of this, but there aren't any. I mean, we sat here after the Nebraska game and said this is a must-win. I mean, we're saying that from our perspective. I know, mathematically it's not, but mentally it is, and as a fan it is, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people that right now try to take the high road and try to say, we can't get down on these kids. We got to support them and all that. And I'm trying, like I really am trying, but it's tough to root for this team right now. Like they're terrible. They're bad. They suck. And there isn't anything positive about what we do that I enjoy watching. And if I didn't grow up such an Indiana fan my entire life, there's no way I would root for this team. There's nothing about them that's fun to watch. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that say, you have a bad attitude or you're just always negative about stuff. But somebody point something positive out of this. What can you learn from this other than Purdue? Whoever just said it on there a second ago, Purdue's a better program than Indiana is right now, and that's a fact.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, there's a lot of numbers that will say that. The numbers I just gave, the 0 for whatever now, 0 for 9 for the last 9 games.
This is officially Mackey Arena South right now. Like, there's a Mackey North and a Mackey South. Like, they win as much here. They win more here than they do at home.
Unfortunately, that's been the case. No fans. Indiana does not have any kind of home court advantage, but
we've proven the fans don't matter.
Yeah, it's so much deeper than that, and that's what I think people are having a problem with. That we all do. When you watch the same thing and you see the same result, it kind of gets a little defeating when there are certain basic things that just have to happen and they're just not happening.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I don't know where I think a lot of times coaches and players get way too much credit when things are going well. And I think there's also a lot of circumstances when players and coaches take too much heat when things are not going well. This is not one of those circumstances. They deserve the heat. It's bad. This is not a game you can afford to lose. We're not losing. Okay, here's what I'll go back and say. So you'll give the streak of how many we've lost in a row and all that. I get it. When they had Carson Edwards and Ryan Klein and that whole group, that's a really tough team to beat. That's a tough team to beat. Last year's team at Purdue, not good. This team at Purdue, not good. We're losing to not good teams on our home court, and that's not good. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sit here and yes, I'm still an Indiana fan. I'm going to be an Indiana fan tomorrow and next year. But I'm not going to sit here and act like this is fun to watch or I'm okay with this. When I was a little kid, I would throw up if Indiana lost to Purdue. And now that I'm an adult, I feel like throwing up. I mean, I look like I've been crying, and I'm not sure I haven't been. I'm pretty sure I teared up at some point in the second half. It is absolutely freaking miserable. I don't know how to – I'd love to spin it, but I can't.
I sent out a tweet earlier toward the end of the game because there was one point to where it looked like Indiana just didn't know what to do at a time where they needed to do something, and that happens way too often. They look like they're looking to somebody else for an answer that they don't have, and that cannot be happening year 4. I'm sorry. You got guys that have been here long enough. It's not acceptable, and like I said, there's no point in sugarcoating it because anything else is just not the truth.
I mean, here's the deal with this team. I mean, we've all said it. There has been spurts where Armand Franklin shot the ball well. The last game, Rob Finney shot the ball well. Al Durham has shot the ball well. Leal all of a sudden has started getting some playing time and making some shots. There's spurts when guys have shown capability of doing that, but we're not a team that does it regularly. And as soon as we fell behind in this game, I don't think anyone, including our coaching staff and probably our players, would disagree. We're not a team that has a ton of firepower that's going to come back once we're behind. And so once we fell behind early in the game, I knew it was going to take some kind of great shooting performance in order to be able to come back. And obviously it didn't happen.
Well, Armand Franklin, the only guard again, poured in what he ended up with 14 points. Trace Jackson Davis 25. For the longest time, those two had more than half of Indiana's point production. Race Thompson ends up adding 13. But Al Durham and Rob Finney, 8 points total, 3 of 10 shooting, 1 of 5 behind the three-point line. Sorry, you can't win a game against a team that is just stroking it from three-point. They're 11 of 17. And more importantly, Indiana was 3 of 18 from three-point line. But worse, they were 16 of 29 at the free throw line. That's 55%. What game are you going to win with those kind of numbers?
None. And I'm going to go back to it. And I told you I'm going to sound like a jerk going back to this all year long saying I told you so. And I'm not saying you in general. I said before the Big Ten season started that we will not win more than 2 basketball games in the Big Ten that we don't make more than 4 3-pointers. If we're making 4 3-pointers, we'll squeak a game out here and there and win no more than 2. We beat Maryland and we made 4. We made 3 tonight. We won't win games if that's all you're making. The numbers don't add up. You cannot win, and especially when you add to it the free throw line. I mean, that's just insult to injury. Yeah, I don't think.
I read some numbers on the show today.
It might be his.
Trevor sent me some information that was key tonight. Statistics for Purdue. If a team shoots over 35%, they're like 1-4 against them. But the teams that don't shoot better than 35%, they've lost 1 time. So if you know that going into this game, I'm thinking you got to be inside their jerseys all night. And they hit some shots that those shots weren't contested all the time, very often. There's too many open threes, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, but Purdue's not a team. Here's the deal, and you'll hear Dan Dockett say it. You'll hear different people say it. I know on your show today, John Laskowski said it, in that, guys, even that aren't great shooters, tend to make shots against Indiana for Purdue. It just happens year after year. So it can't surprise you. It can't catch you off guard. You got to know it's going to happen. It is what it is. And you have to be able to overcome that and deal with it. It's been the case for 40 years. It's not like that's something that just started 4 years ago. That's always been the case. And you have to overcome it. But, I mean, you gave the stats a minute ago, and I know here's the tendency we do as Indiana fans, okay? We had these huge high expectations for all the freshmen coming in. And so you leave out the fact, like you gave Al Durham and Rob Finney stats. You didn't give Trey Galloway because we give him a pass because he's a freshman, and I get it. But you have 11 total points between those 3 starting positions for your basketball team. And that's just unacceptable. They were, 3, 4 for 13 for your starting 1, 2, and 3 guards on your team. You're not going to beat anybody. You could switch the name on the jersey from Purdue to Nebraska to, whatever school you want to name. You're not going to win that game if those are your stat lines. And until they start getting more production, we can blame Archie Miller all we want. It sucks for him that his stats are what they are against Purdue because, okay, so the old school Indiana fans will all remember Coach Knight always saying, hey, no game is more important than another game, which is coach speak and the biggest bunch of malarkey that anyone's ever regurgitated out of their mouth. It's simply not true. And here's a good example. When we get down to the end of the season and you're looking at the Ken Palm and all the different statistics, do they weigh some games higher than they weigh some of the other games? Sure they do. A win against Michigan is a lot better than a win against Nebraska. So every game isn't equal, and every game doesn't mean the same thing. And this particular game, 2 times per year, if you're Indiana, you have to, at minimum, split this series. And the fact that they've lost it year after year after year, I'll tell you, as a former player, we develop relationships with fans in different places all over the state, and we all have friends that are IU people. We all have friends that are Purdue people. And I'm, as an Indiana fan / former player, I am sick and freaking tired of having to swallow my pride year after year and eat crow because we technically are a better team than Purdue, and they beat our ass every single year. And I'm tired. I don't know what the answer is, but I know what my answer would be.
I was going to say,
there'd be practice jerseys on right now over there. I don't give a shit if you got a bad ankle or what your problem is. You'd be practicing right now. And then when the clock strikes midnight and it's the next day, we'd be practicing again right then. That's what it's going to take for this team to get out of this.
Well, it brings up another question. A lot of these things we've been saying for 4 years. The biggest, what identity does this team have? The offense, oblivious. Defense, supposed to be a pack line. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But there's just no identity to this team. There's nothing for them to hang on to when everything is going bad. You've got something. What is it that they have to hang their hat on?
Hey, that's a. I should be pissed at you for asking me that question because it's a loaded question because there's no answer. They don't have an identity other than they're bad. I mean, their identity is they don't shoot the ball very well, and our defense is pretty mediocre. And if we get Trace Jackson the ball and he scores 25, we're still beatable. We just proved that. So everybody in the league, everybody in the country, everybody in the world is going to say, we're going to let Trace Jackson Davis get 25 against us because I don't think the rest of this team can beat you. And until everyone else on that team gets pissed off about that and says, screw that. I am going to get better. I am going to do more. I am going to prove the reasons why I was recruited here. Because, I try, Jim, pretty hard to not say something that I wouldn't feel comfortable having a conversation with someone's parents as a player saying, this is why I said that about your son. And right now, those conversations would be pretty darn one-sided because I don't think their parents would have anything to say. And I'm not trying to start a fight or be mean or whatever. I know they're kids. I understand that. But at some point in time, look, I was super excited for this freshman class coming in. Is anybody else as disappointed as I am? I mean, they're bad. They're terrible. They're not good. They're not good players. They're not playing well. If they're good players, why aren't they playing well?
We do know that the season being muted hurt them a little bit, but at some point you got to get past that.
Yes,
I'm
season is muted for everybody.
You got to get past that, and we're halfway through the season now, so that shouldn't be an issue, but it still is. But it's not just these freshmen. I mean, if you want to be honest, what player development is going on here? It's not happening. So if we're going to start being honest, then those questions are going to start coming, and I know what the answers are, but that's not for me to say, but
I told you, I've said this show after show, and I've asked the question, and I'm not asking the question to discredit any particular player, okay? Because I will tell you, I've been in their position, and I do know they work hard, okay? I do know in the summertime they work hard. I'm going to say I'm not necessarily sure they're working on the right things because this is a question I would have and ask with a parent. So it's not like I'm saying this and I would, if I was talking face to face with their parents, I would be all nice and say, I just do that for the show. That's not true. I would legit say, how's Trace Jackson Davis any better right now than he was a year ago? What can he do now he couldn't do a year ago? And somebody along the lines is going to say, oh, he's a better leader. He's show me then. If you're a good leader, you just beat your rival team on your home court. That's what good leaders do. Okay, so I don't want to hear all that good leader speak bull crap about stuff. I want somebody to prove to me. I want to see that 15, 17-foot jump shot go down. I want to know what you worked on over the summertime. Armand Franklin's better. I mean, I think we would all agree he's better.
I think he can thank his mom for buying that goal that we saw in that story that they did on Big Ten. I mean, he worked his butt off to get there.
But that's the one guy. You just said it a second ago. Where's the player development? You show me. Take Armand Franklin, okay? We'll give him the credit, and we'll give whoever worked with him the credit for that player development. Now, give me another one. Name another player that does anything else that surprises you. I mean, I'm not going to say Race Thompson's that much better because I think if Race Thompson would have played this much last year, I think he would have had these stats last year. I think Race Thompson was this good last year. So, I mean, he's a good player. We're just now getting to see it. You see his numbers where it shows he scored less than a point a game his freshman year and 3 points his sophomore year and now 10 points a game or whatever it is. Show the minutes. That's because he played 1 minute a game as a freshman and 8 minutes a game as a sophomore, and now he plays 25 minutes a game. That's why his numbers are better. So I don't know, Jim. I mean, this is a tough situation because I don't have anything good to say. You just lost a home game to your rival team in a must-win game situation. If you want me to be positive, then I know you don't. I'm saying, like, I'm doing the wrong kind of show if that's what this is supposed to be about, because I have nothing positive to say.
Well, now the problem is we're at the halfway point of the season. The season's not over, but they've got to salvage
the hard part of the schedule is coming up.
Exactly, and they have to be extraordinary to salvage this season, because now we're talking about not making the NCAA tournament, and that would be catastrophic again. And so I don't even want to think about that. But
this team, Jim, this team has zero chance of making the NCAA tournament, unless I shouldn't say that. If the NCAA changes the rules and they decide to let everyone play, and they have a 365 team tournament, Indiana has a chance to get in at that point. Otherwise, look at the schedule. This team has, how many wins do they have right now? 8? If you were in Las Vegas putting money down right now, and the over-under team total wins for this team was 12, would you bet the over? Will they win more than 12 total games? Will they win 4 more games?
I think they could win 4 more, maybe, but I don't see 5.
Show them to me. Look at the schedule and show them. I know. I'm just being a jerk.
Upset. No, it's going to take an upset.
It's going to take 3 upsets. It's going to take 3 upsets. I know. I'm just mad. This is what happens when I get mad. I'm cranky and irritable.
But it's time for people to get mad. It really is.
Because this is what it's like living with me.
Well, when you do the same thing, we've talked. These conversations have gotten to be way too of the same thing, and the fans are thinking the same thing. And it's the truth, though. And this is 3.5 years in. We're having the very same conversation about the same things year after year. And the people, the Facebook, I don't want to downtrade in Indiana. Hell, I went to school there. It's a lot more fun when you're covering a winning team, I promise you. So it's not about being negative, but you want the truth, and this is it. I mean, that's why you all want Todd Leary, because he tells you the fact about this stuff. Well, and these are facts.
And here's what I don't have amnesia. So I remember what I said in the summertime. I remember how excited I was for these freshmen to come in. Jim, this was going to be the recruiting class that turned the tide for us, right? Like, I'm remembering that the way we all as fans talked about it, right? Like, this group was going to push us over the edge. And then when Lander reclassified, oh my gosh, the sky's the limit. Like, we're talking Elite 8, Final 4 possibilities. At some point in time in the summer, I remember having these conversations. And now I just legit said on January the 14th, we have zero chance of making the NCAA tournament. And I firmly believe that. And so I am upset. This is my team to root for. This is my favorite team, and they suck. I'm allowed to be upset. Like, I feel like I am. I mean, I guess as a former player, I'm supposed to have better language about it, but I am pissed. Like, this sucks. This is not fun.
It's not. But what do they have to do now? I mean, you can't quit. You got to keep trying. You got to keep knowing that it is an uphill grind that's going to get worse.
You know what you got to do?
How does this team prod through this?
So let's, other than what I am here, this team is never going to see this or hear this. They don't give a crap about what Todd Leary says or thinks about them. But you know what they do need to do? They know the narrative in general. They know where they're sitting right now. I mean, they know they're in a bad position. And you know what they got to do? They got to prove everybody wrong. I mean, that's you got to dig deep. You got to, how all the feel-good stories have that situation where you talk about, you look back on the low point. Okay, well, I mean, how many low points are there for this team? Like, not just this team, the program. Like, I have said this for 4 straight years. I want Archie Miller to be the coach of my basketball team. I like the fact that Archie Miller is a 100% basketball guy. I love that side of it. But at some point in time, I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall here. And we all know the definition of insanity. And I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and I'm not getting a different result.
Well, that has certainly been the case.
Jordan, I'm in on that comment. Jordan's comment about play Lander and let him play through the mistakes because we can't be any worse. I totally agree. There were 3 games ago, I would have started that whole deal.
See, all right, tonight he put up an ill-advised 3 that was way off, and he jerks him out immediately. I'm like,
here's what I don't understand. What's the
point of that?
Okay, you know what? Armand shot 2 air balls tonight, and I mean 2 of the ugliest air balls a person can shoot, like horrible air balls. Yet he still made some really good shots at other points in the game because he stayed in the game and he continued to play through all of that. And that's what Lander's a scorer. Okay, Lander grew up as a scorer. His mentality is a scorer. He's going to play through all that stuff if he gets to play 25 minutes. And I said this last game, and I firmly believe this. This is on the coaching staff. Somebody's got to go grab a hold of him and say, okay, Christian, look, this is where we're going to be. You're going to play 25 minutes in this game. Okay, you're going to play 12 in the first half and 12 or 13 in the second half. You're going to play and you're going to be tired. So don't worry about forcing things and don't worry about making mistakes. If you turn it over 7 times in a row, you're still going to play. Okay? And until somebody sits him down and does that, what do you have to lose? I mean, you're not getting anything consistently out of Finney. What do you have to? You're getting 0 out of Trey Galloway, and I'm a huge Trey Galloway fan. I have to say that every time because it sounds like I'm picking on him, but you're not getting anything out of it. So stat-wise, production-wise, you're not getting anything out of it. So you got to try something different.
And that's a little surprising because he's working his ass off.
It's super. He plays hard. It's hard to talk bad about a guy who plays hard, a guy who dives on the floor, a guy who is willing to take a charge and give up his whole body. It's hard to say something negative about that unless you erase the names, okay, and look at the stat lines and look at the production. And if you do that, then you disassociate yourself with actually saying I'm picking on an 18-year-old kid because I don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. But if you do that and you just block out the names and you look at the stat lines that go across there and you go back game after game after game and you know you're looking at the same person and you're like, okay, well, we're not getting enough out of this position right here. You know that's what needs to change. And then you open it up and you're like, okay, well, that's Trey Galloway right now. Right now he's not playing well and we got to switch something out.
And the one thing, and I ask a lot of dumb questions. This might be dumb, but I give a lot of dumb answers. Aggressiveness. Because of all he's doing, he's so much motion. He moves the ball around, but he's not looking to score that much. Is that a lack of confidence? He does not seem like he's lacking confidence, but there's something that's keeping him from making that next step.
If you look at when he catches the ball, okay, and you legit highlight him as an individual player. When he catches the ball, let's say in the first 15 to 20 seconds of the shot clock, he's doing exactly what you said. He's facilitating the offense. He's a cog in the machine. Like they're throwing him the ball because it's supposed to go from point A to point B, and he knows his job is to get it from point B to point C. Okay, and a lot of times it goes back to point A, which I don't understand that either. But sometimes that's the way the offense is supposed to be run. But he doesn't even look at the basket. So I don't know if it's because he's a freshman. I'll tell you this: he did in high school. In high school, I can remember him driving to the basket, almost every possession. And so I'm saying he's just trying to fit in and be a part of everything. And now I'm going to say, like, that's not working anymore, okay? He's not making mistakes, but he's not producing. And I don't want to turn this whole show into Trey Galloway's the problem with Indiana because that's not the case. I love Trey Galloway, and I think he is going to be a terrific Indiana basketball player. But right now, if you block out the names and look at the stat lines and go back game after game, I'm not basing this off of one game. That's a position that has to have more consistent production out of it.
We know there's not been consistency from Rob Finney, from Al Durham, or Jerome Hunter. And those are your veterans. Knowing that your veterans are you cannot count on them, you don't know, it seems like you really, really need to push the freshmen to try to get something out of them because this is the time. You're not getting anything out of the vets. Why not go that? Why not? I don't understand.
Okay, so I'm just going to pretend like this is a coach's show and I'm one of the coaches and you just asked me that question. I think their answer is going to be we are trying that. Like, we've given Leal a lot more playing time. We've put Geronimo in more. We've given Christian Lander more of an opportunity than we were giving him early on. I think in their minds they would feel like they are doing that. Look, here's the deal. As a coach, remember I asked Coach Aird this the other day when he was on the show. Do coaches ever get to the point where you kind of scrap the season and you start just playing the freshmen? And you start just saying, okay, well, you know, maybe we are gonna lose most of our games, and I'm just gonna start playing these guys till their feet bleed. And he kind of answered that question and said, yes, I think certain coaches do get to that point. I think we're at that point. I'm not sure Archie Miller thinks we're at that point. He's not ever going to give up. I don't want him to give up. I don't want him to scrap the season. I want there to be that miracle turnaround, okay? Here's what this whole team needs to do. Think about this. The whole team needs to do exactly what Armaan Franklin did. Because Armaan Franklin's not the same person he was, same player he was a month and a half ago. He's definitely not the same player he was a year ago. And so is it possible for the whole team to figure that thing out? Sure, it's possible. But it's got to, like, I can't sit here and bitch and complain about it and make it happen. They've got to make it happen. And until it does, I feel like I have a license to sit here and bitch and complain about it every single game. And I want us to win. I wanted to text Matt Painter after this game and say, suck it. but I can't. I got to say congratulations again. Like, it makes me want to throw up.
Yeah, and Ed pointed out, look at the Purdue freshmen to contribute to the IU contributions. Funny, because when I was walking out of the game tonight, Tom Brew leaned up to me and pointed out that I think Purdue's freshmen scored 30 points in this game, and Indiana's scored 4. Is that accurate? Because I'm not looking at the stats right now.
I mean, well, I know Galloway had 3, Lander 0.
Who are Purdue's freshmen? Ivy, is he a freshman?
Yeah.
He's had 13. I mean, anyway.
The 11-foot tall guy. I mean, how many?
Player development. Again, to me, I guess, going back to player development.
Yeah, you know what, though? Here's the thing. So you can take those stats. You can use them for what they're worth. You can analyze the stats and say their freshmen outproduced our freshmen. Here's the bottom line. Whether the freshman scored it or whether Trace Jackson Davis scored 50 or whatever it is, at some point, there has been a lot of games. Look, I watch almost every Purdue game a lot like I do watch every IU game, obviously. But their freshmen don't play all that well all the time either. They have typical freshman ups and downs. And early in the season, the big 7'9" guy looked incredible. And then there's other games, Ivy looked incredible. Like they've had their ups and downs also. I'm not acting like their freshmen are great and ours sucks. But in this particular game, okay, what I'm going to say is Matt Painter grew up in the state of Indiana. And Matt Painter played at Purdue, and Matt Painter hates IU, okay? I don't know that this is not an indictment against him. This is the way I see it is a fact. I don't know that Archie hates Purdue, okay? I know Matt hates IU. He should. It's a rivalry. We should. I mean, nobody should do anything physically. Please don't think I'm saying anything like that or whatever. But just as friendly rivalry, we should hate each other. We hate Kentucky.
The best game I've seen all year was Texas Tech last night. And it reminded me of watching Indiana and Purdue in the 80s and the 90s. It was just a bloodbath.
It was a battle.
Technical fouls, but it all stayed with pretty clean. And it was a hell of a game. And that's what we're all missing,
man. And I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. You know, so there was that situation tonight where Stepanovic or whatever his name is, he got a technical foul or whatever. And I think the guys, like the announcers, you know, Donnie Marshall on there, like he's not from the Big Ten. He doesn't. Brando, those guys on there, they don't generally do IU Purdue games or whatever. It was a good crew that was on there, but they don't understand like. This is a game like you kind of spit in somebody's face or you headbutt somebody or you do something out of the norm and you're like, why would a guy do that? And you're like, because I hate them. I hear about them every single day. Like, I hate that team. They're nice guys. Like, Matt Painter and I were friends. Matt Waddell and I are friends. Like, I still see them today. Our kids play together on a team. Like, we laugh about things. I don't hate them from that perspective, but when we played against each other, We hated each other. We went to camps together in the summer, but we hated each other when we're on that floor. And Purdue fans come up to me all the time. And I love to be able to be the biggest a-hole in the world to them. But right now, for 5 years now, I've had to just sit there and go, yeah, I know, you guys kind of have our number. I'm so freaking tired of saying that. It's ridiculous.
Well, all right, to follow up on that, I've felt the same for a long time. And talking to a friend of mine who used to cover Florida, Archie interviewed for that job before Indiana. And he was given a tag as an island coach, someone who just likes to get away, take the program, and get out on an island. And that's how I feel this program is. I don't see a lot of involvement. The connection doesn't seem there. Talk about the rivalry. It almost is another game. There's just nothing special to being at Indiana. It happens to be here, and that's not the case. It's a special place. It's a place where you're lucky to be here, and I just don't get that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that side of it. You know, one of the things I loved. Okay, so Coach Knight, let's not act like he was, this great personality that everybody loved to get along with. Like he was, he's cool and did some awesome things and all that. But I mean, he was kind of on an island. I mean, you couldn't get real close to the program at that point. I don't mind the part of Archie Miller that he's 100% basketball. Actually, I think that's his best quality. I'm not sure. I'm going to take some heat for this because they're all really, 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 really good people. Okay? But I'm not sure Archie surrounded himself with enough a-holes.
Coaches?
Enough a-holes. I mean,
yes,
look, okay. So let's just say this. I'm gonna say this. I don't even know if he'll like the fact that I'm saying this or not like it. Okay? But what do a lot of Indiana fans think of Dan Dockage? Okay, as a commentator and as a radio personality, they think he's a dick. Okay, I mean they don't like him. They say an awful lot of bad things about him. But you know who was one of the best coaches that I've ever had? Dan Dockage, because he was 100% Indiana. He was 100% bought into the program. He was 100% bought into everything Bob Knight said. He taught us. Dan Dockage and Ron Felling and those guys did way more coaching than, and believe me, I'm not sitting here saying it's got to be an Indiana guy. It's got to be that. I'm not in that camp, okay? But I'm telling you this. You got to have some jerks. Coaches are jerks. Coaches are egomaniac jerks. The good ones are. Coach K, jerk. Izzo, jerk. Now, they do great interviews. They're charismatic. They do all that. Jerks, okay? You have to be. Egomaniac jerk. And we don't have any jerks. We got a bunch of really nice guys. We got a bunch of Mike Roberts, the nicest guy in the world. He's the nice. You have dinner with somebody, he's the nicest guy in the world. Tom Ostrom, I don't even know if the guy's blood pressure gets above 80 ever. I mean, he's just calm and nice as can be. Somebody needs to not be calm right now. Like if I ran practice over there right now at 12:01, these guys would look at me like I was an alien. They wouldn't even know where I was going. And let me say this. Okay, I've been to several practices. Archie's not a nice guy. Archie's not a guy in there patting them on the butt, telling them how good they're doing. He's calling them every name in the book right now. He's being the jerk. But it can't just come from the head coach. He can't walk out the door and the other assistants, pick you up and say, oh, it can't be that way. Dan Dockage, jerk, egomaniac, dick, jerk, and we all love him. It's just the way that it is.
Well, we talk about the fact that that's one of the things about this team. Identity, toughness. People have complained about a lack of toughness in this team.
Hold on. James Cockrell, I got to comment on this.
Where'd he go?
Has anyone ever seen an IU team with a lane violation on the front of a 1-on-1? Yes. Calbert Chaney at Michigan. I was shooting the front end of a 1-on-1, my only chance to get in the scoring book. And Calbert Chaney stepped off the line, the front end of a 1-on-1. Yes. At the end of a game. Now, we still won, so I can make a joke about it. But, James, yes, the leading scorer in the history of the Big Ten, at least for the next couple of months.
That's hilarious. For the next couple of months, you think that's going to fall?
I think this is my prediction. Luka Garza is going to come back for his 11th season next year, and he's going to put that record at 4,000 points, and nobody's ever going to touch it.
I hope he doesn't. What do they do next? So they get off Sunday. The game with Michigan State.
Is it already canceled?
Yes, it's canceled. It's off. So they get a little bit of a break. But actually,
no.
that may have been
Hey,
that's
you
probably a
lose
game
this
they
game, you don't
needed.
want to break. You want to play
That-
tomorrow. You want to play
They
tomorrow
needed
night.
that game though, because that's a game they could probably one of the few games they can win in this
I
league.
wasn't saying for that. Look, that's not a game they can win. They're not going into the Breslin Center and winning. Be for real. What makes you say that? Because Purdue did it?
Oh, no, it does, to me the home weight thing is kind of irrelevant right now.
Yeah, that they have zero chance of going. That's why I'm telling you. I mean, you look at this is where I am. I am being a realist in my mind and a jerk in most other people's minds. I don't see 4 more wins on there. You're not winning at Michigan State. You're not winning at Iowa. Are you going to beat Rutgers at home? I mean, where do you go from here? I don't know. I mean, you're off right now. You don't play again until a week from tonight, and you're at Iowa. What do you have to look forward to? Losing by 40?
This
If
team
that line was 25 right now, I'm telling you, I'm asking right now, the line was 25, would you bet on IU? It won't be. It'll be like 11 or 12 or something like that. But if the line was 25 points right now, would you take IU?
No.
Neither would anybody else on here that's got a brain.
All right, so this team's got to sit around for the next. Well, not sit around, but not
Hopefully
play
not sit
until.
around.
But know that is their next game. Know that they just lost to a rival, if it matters to them who it was. But they lost a game that they really needed to win. And now, the beginning. I don't want to say the beginning of the end, but it is nothing but uphill from now on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's just not. I'll even be a little bit optimistic and say, okay, so I'm being a jerk and I'm just mad and upset right now, and I recognize that, and so I'm being negative. But when you look at the rest of the schedule, the hard part of the schedule, no one's going to disagree. Everyone in the Big Ten has this ridiculous grouping of teams they have to play all in a row. Indiana's hasn't started yet. It's getting ready to start. It actually was going to start on Sunday. And the real unfortunate part is just the way that it lays out. It never ends for the whole rest of the season. So they have one game after another that is a fluke win. I mean, right now, like I'm not gonna run down every game. I'm just gonna say this. Indiana has to beat Rutgers at home, which Rutgers is not playing very good. It's a possibility. They've got to win at Northwestern. Laughable, kind of. You got to win at Ohio State, and you got to beat Minnesota at home. That's your only 4 possible wins for the rest of the season, in my opinion. Now, they'll lose one of those and probably win at Michigan or some crazy, goofy thing. But I don't see how in the world you could say this team possibly wins more than 12 games.
Greg asked, why don't we try pressing more? Why do we have to lose? But one question I do have is, when you see that something's not working and Indiana needs to make an adjustment, it seems that they can only do that at the half. I don't see a lot of in-game adjustments with Archie. He doesn't change anything basically with his defense, especially.
But that's a difficult thing to do because you practice. A lot more goes into game planning than a couple coaches sitting around the desk going, well, what do you think we should do? I think we should double the post. It doesn't go that way. Like, you study the numbers and see how guys react to different situations. So there's a lot that goes into it. There is some changing on the fly, especially if you say, hey, we're going to double every time Williams dribbles, we're going to go double. And all of a sudden he passes out of that for 3 consecutive layups. Yeah, on the fly, you're going to say, hey, we're not going to double that anymore. But for the most part, you kind of stick to your game plan a little bit because there's a reason why you pick that game plan. And I mean, I don't hate our. I don't notice compared to other coaches or schools that we don't make adjustments as well as other places. What I will say is I don't identify what our game plans are as well as I feel like I should. I feel like I should be able to recognize what our game plan is a lot of times on offense. I kind of feel like, and I don't want him to go to this, okay? So I'm not saying I want him to go to Bob Knight offense or whatever it is. But when it came to the motion offense, we ran the motion offense. It didn't matter who we were playing. Never did it ever matter who we were playing. We might throw a wrinkle in here or there or whatever, or do something goofy. We posted Damon Bailey a lot. We posted our guards a lot. Posted Greg Graham a lot. So we would do some little wrinkle things to it or whatever. But for the most part, we ran the same thing all the time. So we didn't have that many adjustments when it came to stuff like that. Our adjustments were defensively for the most part. I don't see these guys. I think our offense looked the same today, to me, to Todd, that it did last week. It looked the same as it did the week before. It looked the same as it did last year. I don't know what we do any differently with the players that we have right now than we did with the players that we lost from last year. We don't have Justin Smith. We don't have Devontae. Like, we don't have some of the players, so I would feel like there should be some tweaking, and I see some differences, and I just don't really see it.
Parker Stewart, an X factor. Don't know when he's going to come on. Don't know. That could be 2 weeks. It may not even be a part.
That dude's sitting in a great position because he can't make him look any worse, and all he can do, he can be responsible for a huge turnaround.
I mean, he literally could be a savior for this team, because if you get one guy that just got on fire, we saw what Armand Franklin could do to this team. If you get a guy who's more of a veteran that could actually come in and do that and take some pressure off of Armand.
I've said it. When you see it happen tonight for Purdue, when you see one guy making some shots, another guy tends to make some shots. I don't know why that's the case. It's unexplainable. If anyone could explain it, they could make gazillions of dollars. I don't know why it's the case. It just is. So when teams have a couple of guys that are shooting well, other guys tend to shoot well. That's just the way that it works. And right now, I think they're lacking that fire starter. They're lacking that guy to get it going. I mean, Armand does it occasionally. Finney did it the last game. It just doesn't seem to continue and catch on.
Well, we saw Anthony do it a little bit before, but he played substantially tonight. Didn't get a shot. I mean,
when Greg Tuff's end part of his statement to me is absolutely factual. In today's basketball game, okay, in today's college basketball game, you cannot win without a pretty good offense. The only team there's been one. Do you want to be like the masses, or do you want to be like the one anomaly team that's capable of doing that? And that's Virginia. And they did it a few years ago, and I think we would all agree their offense for that particular team was way better than what they're used to having with Kyle Guy and a lot of those Ty Jerome and those guys. But they had 4 guys that ended up in the NBA. Okay, there's not 4 guys ending up on the NBA on this Indiana team the way they're playing right now. So, you cannot win without shooting. You cannot win without having some guys that can knock down shots. And that's just a factual statement. I know there are a lot. I'm not saying everything falls on the fact we didn't make shots, but I am physically saying, you and I looked at the score. They were down by 10 with 3 minutes to go. They were 3 for 15 from the three-point line at that particular time. They were 11 for 21 from the free throw line at that particular time. Are you telling me that game doesn't finish different if we're 6 for 15? Or if we're 17 for 21 or 16 even for 21, shooting just an average percentage. I'm not even saying doing anything freakish. If we shot an average percentage, we're either tied or ahead in that basketball game. And so, yes, I am physically going to say out loud, shooting is the biggest problem for this team. It is not turnovers. It is not defense. There's some corrections that could definitely be made in all of these categories. Their number one biggest issue is they can't consistently shoot the ball.
I agree. You're listening to After the Game with Todd Leary, of course, live from Yogi's, coming to you here in Bloomington. Also brought to you by the great folks from Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. You got a 0% sales event going on. Get by there and see those folks. Great people from French Lake Resort as well. The great people from Yogi's, like I said, everybody from Finney Hospitality Group, Nathan Finney, Chris Martin, Kelly Lindsay, everybody over at the tap. We appreciate all you guys. But, man, this has been a fun one. Not fun, but it's been some life. It's fine to have some life finally, something to get. Now, this team has to find life. That's one of the things I tweeted out before the game. This team had to play pissed off for 40 minutes because I've seen Trace Jackson Davis get pissed off, and when he does, he's kind of unstoppable. But this whole team needs to play pissed off. They don't look that way, and I know you have to control your emotions to a degree, but they really need to play. It should matter more, I hope.
I mean, I certainly hope they're mad. I hope they're pissed off. And like Like if I have to be the crucifixion here of them saying, proving me wrong or doing something because I'm an a-hole about this, then that's the way it's got to be. But I mean, they're not good. Like they're not playing well. They are playing hard. I'll never be the guy that sits back and says they don't care and they're not trying, because that's not true. That's not factual. I know they don't want to lose. I know they don't want to play bad. I'm saying some things have got to be done differently. Like the definition of insanity. I mean, I'll say it again. Like we can't keep doing the same stuff and expecting a different result, because it's proven it's not going to happen.
It's definitely not going to happen. That's going to wrap it up for us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, Fidel Jones will be on with us, so we'll talk about more about this game. And then we'll be back again. When's the next game, Todd? Next Thursday?
Next Thursday at Iowa.
And that's a late game. Oh, my gosh. Be doing that from the bedroom maybe. But I cannot thank you guys enough. Cannot thank everybody, Andy Moore, Rich, and Adam York, and all the guys over there, and Fritz Lake, Brandon Sweeney. And again, all the folks at Finney Hospitality Group, Nathan and Chris, all you guys. And of course, Todd Leary, no one more important than him here on the show. But especially you guys. You're the most important part of this whole thing. We appreciate you so much. Todd, it's always fun, man. We appreciate it. Can't wait to do it again. Rest. Goose Fraba. Goose Fraba. Let the blood pressure come down.
I'm trying.
Thank you, folks. We appreciate you guys so much. Hope you have a great night. I'm Jim Coyle. Do something nice for somebody. Make sure you wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I'll see you on the radio.